What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 90s First Podcasting Network. My name is Mike, and alongside my co-host Joe, we take a look at some 90s content that we just can't stop watching. Join us on our flagship show, the 90s First Show. We look at some 90s content that Joe and I are watching, as well as some current stuff, and we end it with a 90s trivia contest. Or join us on Test Your Might, a video game debate show where we battle it out on the current news. Joe hosts as our good buddy Cicero and I try to get the high ground and go 1000 IQ against each other. If you would like to connect with us, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the 90s First. And finally, if you would like to support us monetarily, we have a Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/the90sfirst to show general support for as little as $1 a month. So whether you're listening to the 90s First Show or Test Your Might, Joe and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope that you have a blessed day. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Test Your Might, our weekly video game debate show. My name is Mike, alongside, as usual, Cicero Holmes. How you doing today, Cicero?
I'm doing great. Say hi to your mother for me.
We're gonna, before we get to our guests, we do have a special guest today, listeners. If you're watching on YouTube, you already got a sneak peek, but first, leave us a review. We would love to appreciate, I can't speak today.
You'd love to appreciate it too.
I would love to appreciate that I would appreciate that you leave us a review on either Apple, iTunes, whatever, Spotify, leave us a rating. We'd greatly appreciate that. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button there. Again, love that you guys do that. If you guys do that,
and the bell notification.
Yeah, sure. That too. I'm not a YouTuber.
Click that bell.
So, all that aside, Cicero, introduce our guest. He's one of your old friends here. Let us know who we got on the cast
You just did it. So, one of the great things about having spent some time in the games industry is meeting, not only getting access to the games, but getting to meet the people. And sometimes you meet people in your life that you didn't realize were family until you met them. And this is one of those people. Not only is he family to me, but he's insanely talented. He is an incredible writer and an excellent podcaster. He is my fellow New Yorker, another huge comic book head, my friend, my brother, Mr. Tony Polanco. How you doing, brother?
Dude, man, that was a great intro, man. I feel the same way, man. Like,
thank you.
And as you were talking, that intro, I'm thinking about like how long we know each other. I believe it was 2014.
Yeah.
Like you linked up with my friend Emilio first.
Yes.
Like, yo, I talked to this dude from he's like, he knows comics, so we started talking. And then like every year after that, when we linked up at E3, we would always go together, Yard House.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Real stuff right there, man. So I definitely
best.
feel that. And me and Cicero, we still talk all the time. You know what I'm saying? We can have some very real conversations behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly.
is love, man. So when you asked me to be on, I didn't even hesitate. I'm like, let's go. When are we doing this, man? So thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So, before we get into the guts, we've got to throw down some questions and talk about your podcast, The Throwdown.
All right, man. So I'll give you like a quick synopsis of it. So I started this it's very appropriate. I mean, we're on video, right? This is great. Very appropriate. I'm wearing this shirt real quick. So that's right there.
There you go.
Yeah, STFU and play, right?
Yes.
First side I ever wrote for. It means exactly what you think it means. And that's where Throwdown started, right? It was just four of us, at the beginning, and we wanted to have a kind of like a complimentary podcast to the Warzone, which was started by my good friend and mentor Torrance Davis, who that's another cat I still talk to every day, And we were just we were still trying to figure out like we were gonna do, like we did video games, but then also through pop culture, tech, and all that, and that first iteration of it ran for like 90-ish episodes, right? But I had left around episode 65 because I was started right for DualShockers. I couldn't be on two sites at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So things didn't work out over there with DualShockers. And then when Emilio, who was hosting at the time, he's still my current host, he was like, hey, man, like, you left DualShockers. We're about to take this podcast over to the Coalition. You want to host it again? I'm like, let's go. But this time we're going to make sure that we are on YouTube, right? And we just so happen to post our stuff on the coalition. So it's not a coalition podcast, our podcast. So no matter where I go, I could be writing for IGN or whatever. That'll still be my thing. Cause I'm like, cause I like, I don't know how to put this, but it hurt not having my podcast. You know what I'm saying? So, so I was like, I need that venue because like there's the professional side, where I write and everything, and I have to adhere to certain standards or whatever, depending on the site. But on my show, bro, say whatever I want, and it's just a great way because again, it's like I got the professional side, but I'm still a gamer. I still want to, talk about these things in a more candid way. And if you guys hear our show, like we ain't family friendly. Like we have a disclaimer up top for a reason because we don't want to hear people go, "Oh, my kids listen to your show," and now there are times like you shouldn't have let them listen to our show anyway. The disclaimer's right there, bro. But yeah, Throwdown. So it's me, Emilio. We got, and that basically here's the thing about Throwdown. It's basically family, man. It's a whole bunch of guys I know. Like half the guys out there I've known for like over 20 years, and then the other half are guys I've known in the industry. And I just keep bringing guys on. When I need somebody else, I'm like, "Hey, you wanna be on for a little bit?" Like Carlos was the last one. It's like, "Yo, I need somebody on real quick that has expertise on this." But I had already done podcasts with Carlos before. I'm like, "Yo, just stay, bro," and it's just worked out. And we pretty much run the gamut. Like you got guys like me who actively work in the industry. You have guys like Adam, right? He's Emilio's cousin. He is like where I used to be in the middle, like end, independent. Then we got guys like Carlos and Brett who are just regular gamers, but just very knowledgeable dudes. So we all come together, and it's been going strong right now for this iteration, because we do 2 podcasts, Throwdown and Throw Down Your Questions, and that's been going for 346 episodes each because we do twice a week, so 350 for both of them in September, man. Wow, so it's gonna be dope, so yeah, man. Throwdown, that's my baby right there, man. And I'll say this real quick, it's just interesting how it worked because I remember when I started the original version of it, my 2 favorite podcasts at that time were the Warzone and the Dual Shocker Shockcast, right? So I try to mold Throwdown into that vein, right? And then ironically enough, when I went over to Dual Shockers, I started hosting the Shockcast, right? Just took it over, and then I was like, let me make it a little bit more like Throwdown, but keep the structure of the Shockcast. Then when I started this version of it, I was like, all right, let me do what I learned in the Shockcast and do these other things, and it's just, become what it is now. But now it's just purely 100% gaming right now. We kind of chucked all the side stuff because our show is funny. I'll say this last thing. Originally, it was a 2-hour podcast, and then we started answering fan questions at the end, and then the podcast would be like 4 hours long because we're just answering questions, So we're like, all right, let's split these in 2, But then we started doing that. Now we're like, okay, now we have 2 4-hour podcasts. We need to do something here. So then as soon as we cut the pop culture stuff, then we got it manageable. Now they're between 90 minutes and 2 hours. So I feel it's a good balance because fans never, ever complain about long podcasts. So a lot of our listeners are like blue collar dudes and stuff. They listen to us at work, So they love the long podcasts. But it's like, okay, but we need energy too, bro. So, it's a good balance there. We've been going strong, man. And thanks to Cicero, you've been on a couple of times, you're a big supporter of us. So definitely appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, and you guys go live on Twitch Sunday nights, right?
Thursday and Sunday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, definitely listeners will have those in the show notes down below for you to go support our guest here, Tony. And so, Tony, we're under this umbrella called the 90s First. I do another podcast. Cicero was on the last episode as well.
Nice.
Talking about Buffy and living single.
There we go.
But anyway, I grew up in the 90s, and I used to watch this Nickelodeon game show, the classic Guts. I don't know if you ever heard of it. So I'm going to ask if you have the guts to answer these questions.
Oh, boy. Let's go.
All right. First question. Favorite video game of all time?
Oh, Metal Gear Solid 3, man. That game, like, just changed everything, man. Like, I remember playing it for the first time. Like, you went through this whole thing. It was like 2-hour long intro and stuff. And you're messed up by the end, and then the credits start rolling. Like, oh my God, it was just the intro of the game, And then as you kept playing, and I played this game like 15 times or something, because there's so many different ways you could play the game. Like, I would start messing with the guards, because you could find where they're like, their storehouses are, right? So, for example, they got food there. So I would burn all their food, find all their weapons, destroy their weapons. So I would have dudes chasing me with knives. Then I punch them once and they fall over because they were hungry, you know. And you could also mess with the boss like that. My favorite boss of all time is the end. It's a sniper battle, right? And if you do it like the way you're supposed to do it, you're supposed to sneak around a jungle and stuff and try to find this guy who's after you. But you could also mess with him because he's an old man, right? So you could actually set the clock of the PlayStation ahead a week and he'll die of old age, right? That's one way to kill him. Yeah. Another one was because he always catches you because he has like a parrot on his shoulder, right? And he sometimes scouts and stuff. You find the parrot and you kill the parrot and you eat it, and he gets really upset. You know, and then you can find him that way, and it's just so creative. And then, you know, just the characters in the story, it was like a James Bond movie, but just like heavier and better. Like, and it's funny because I hadn't seen James Bond movies until then, so I started watching James Bond after Metal Gear. I'm like, these movies are good, but they ain't as good as Metal Gear. You know, they got no giant mechs. You know, so yeah, no, till this day that game holds up. I love it so much, man.
The name is Snake. Solid Snake. All right. Favorite console of all time?
See, this one, again, you gave me the show notes, and I've been hemming and hawing, man, because it's between the PlayStation 2. Okay. These are just objective because I got a personal one in my heart. You know, I don't know which one you want here. Like, you want
you got this.
Personal.
Yeah,
a personal. Yeah. Oh, the Dreamcast, man. Sega Dreamcast. I didn't have to hem and haw over that because I'm trying to be objective about it. Like, no, it's Dreamcast. And I'll tell you why. That was the first system that I bought with my own money, man. I saved up for it all summer, right? September. It was on sale September 9. You already know, bro. You already know. I saved up money. I remember that day because I had just started college, right? Skipped that day. I'm like, no, this is Dreamcast day, man, because I had been such a big Sega head forever, right? Yeah. Genesis, Sega CD, 32X, Sega Saturn. I had everything.
Oh my gosh, they got all your money.
All of them, you know. And if Cicero, you know, after the Genesis, you know, Sega fans struggled, man. Those systems, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they came out every 2 weeks, and they were like $250. Every add-on was the same price as a console.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, but I loved it. Sega Saturn, near and dear to my heart. Didn't do very well, but I loved it. But Dreamcast, it was like, okay, now we have a Sega system that finally did it, man. Like you know, the graphics were crazy, the games were dope. Sega was never at its best. Unfortunately, literally 18 months later, killed it. Yeah. You know, yo, and I got this how crazy I was for that. I literally thought, man, I guess I'm done with gaming. I'm like, Sega's gone. What am I going to do? I didn't even think about PlayStation because I didn't like PlayStation back then because I was a Sega guy. You know, I was a big fanboy. You know, so I'm like, what am I going to do? I'll tell you this. When the Saturn got discontinued, all I did for 1 year was just play X-Men versus Street Fighter. That was like, okay, I got to wait until I could have bought a PlayStation 1, but like, no. Sega's coming back. So that was very disappointing. But the Sega
X-Men
Dreamcast
versus Street Fighter and games of Power Stone.
Yeah. Oh, dude, man, that was crazy. Yeah, Dreamcast. So yeah, Power Stone, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur. You know, bro, it's too much, man. You know, Ready to Rumble. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that system is like to my heart right there. Man, it'll never be topped. $99.99 for life.
I remember my neighbor had a Dreamcast and he had this binder full of CDs.
Yes.
Just like bootlegs. Just like upon
bootlegs. That was one of the things I kind of did the Saturn, the Dreamcast. So you could just bootleg everything, you know?
All right.
No, you mean you could make copies of your games.
Copies
yeah, that's right.
Of the games that I've owned. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Final question. Seems like you got the guts, so let's answer this one. If you had to choose a video game world to live in, what world would you choose?
Mass Effect.
And
Mass
why?
Effect. Okay. So my favorite TV franchise of all time, specifically this one iteration of it, Star Trek: The Next Generation, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of world I want to live in. It's like, yeah, there's dangers and stuff in the galaxy, but mostly, for the most part, people got their stuff right, you know? Yeah. So when I played Mass Effect for the first time, I'm like, yo, this is the Star Trek game I've always wanted to play. I spent like 6 hours in the Citadel enthralled just talking to aliens, learning about their culture. I'm like, this is great. I'm not just killing all of them. And then you get to find out you get to bang them too. I'm like, I can say that word, right?
Yeah.
Like, bro, this
Okay.
so I'm like, yo, this is fantastic. So, and I the more I got into the lore, I'm like, yeah, this would be the world. Because think about a lot of video game worlds, you don't want to live in those, man.
Right.
There's dangerous, you know what I'm saying? Like Fallout, you don't want to live in that. Witcher, I don't want to live in that. It's too much. But Mass Effect, I know they got Reapers and all that other stuff, but it's like, for the most part, if you're living on Earth or any of these other planets, you're chilling. So that's where I would live for sure. Mass Effect universe. Not in Andromeda, though, in the Milky Way galaxy.
I recently finished Mass Effect 1. That was my first
Oh,
ever
nice.
playthrough. So with the Legendary
What'd you think,
Edition.
man?
It cracked my top 10. I think it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best sci-fi stories in any medium I've ever played. So
Yes.
or ever played, read, watched, whatever.
Experienced.
Dude, and it's funny you mentioned that. Not to go too much off track, but like when I replayed Mass Effect 1, again during Legend, I'm like, I felt the same. I'm like, yo, this is legit one of the best sci-fi stories ever. I'm talking about any medium. It is so good. And I don't know if you got this feel. I'm like, yo, they don't make games like this anymore, man.
No.
Like
In
they really
fact,
don't.
I was when I started Mass Effect 2, I was actually missing some things that was in Mass Effect 1, like just some of the mechanics I wanted back, but they changed it, and I'm a little bit through Mass Effect 2. I gotta continue it, definitely. But since we're talking about games, let's talk about what we were playing. Let's give Cicero some time to talk. I know you've been chomping at the bit, so Cicero, what have you been playing?
I'm usually pretty quiet. I've been playing football. I've been playing. I'm allowed to say. I've been playing the closed beta of FIFA 22, and I am playing early access of Madden 22. So
there you go.
So I've been playing football. I've also been playing the new Tom Clancy game, X Defiant, the free to play, the beta for that. The free-to-play first-person shooter, Call of Duty arcade-like Tom Clancy game that mixes in lots of like characters from the entire Tom Clancy universe of characters. Let's see. I don't know if you guys have played it. I'm enjoying it, especially since you don't have to spend any money to play it. I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's definitely something that will occupy time until some other games that I really, really want to play are have released. What else am I playing? I am playing The Ascent, and I played very little of the closed beta for Back 4 Blood. The open beta is currently available for Back 4 Blood. I played enough. I didn't even need to play any to know that I'm going to play it when the game releases, but I played enough to reinforce the fact that I'll play it when the game releases.
Come right into the Game Pass too, so
yes,
of course you're going to try it.
That's right. Tony,
what have you been playing, man?
Yeah, I've been kind of nibbling at stuff, Game Pass is great for that. I'm telling you, especially right now since there's not really much like heavy hitters coming out. But the last game I played, it was just tonight actually, right before the show, Hades. It's on an Xbox now.
Was that your first time playing it, or did
first
you play it
time?
on PC?
I've never played it before. Mostly because I'm not really a fan of roguelikes.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of roguelikes, and I'm also not. And it's funny because I was never like this, but it's just a current thing within the last 5 years. I'm not too fond of isometric view anymore, So it's both of those at the same time. So I'm like, let me give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? It's free. You know what I mean? It's not free because I still got to pay the subscription, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, it's cool. I like the graphics. I like the voice acting. Presentation slick. I like the controls, but like I was playing it for an hour and a half, and I'm like, I don't feel like I made any progress here. You know what I'm saying? So it is more fair than Returnal, which I put 30 hours into that game, bro. And I'm like, I just told my editor Jeffrey, I'm like, listen, I'll write you a preview of this, but I can't give you a review because I'm not going to finish this game.
Really?
It's it was too much, you know? I just don't, because the whole thing with roguelikes is like, you have to die, and then when you die, everything's like re-rolled and stuff, so sometimes you get dealt a bad hand, and usually when it comes to games, I always get the worst luck. Like if it's something skill based, I'm good because I could just learn and get better, right? But there's no skill with random stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's skill with the combat and all that. But so I played. I'll give it another shot, but I don't know. I'm just being honest. I'm probably not going to stick with it. But it's a good thing it's on Game Pass. So I played that. I played a little bit of The Ascent. That's another isometric game, not a roguelike. That's another. See, here's the thing with that game, like. It looks fantastic. I'm like, yo, this is kind of like the Cyberpunk we should have gotten from 2077, you know? But I'm not like the biggest fan of like twin stick shooters, you know? Yeah. Again, I used to like them, but I got kind of bored of them, you know? So I played that for about a couple of hours, let that go. And then last night I played Back 4 Blood. I have never played Left 4 Dead because it was a 360 game. It was never on PlayStation. So it was me and literally all my guys from Throwdowns, 3 Carlos, Brett, and Adam. Yo, we had a ball playing that, bro. That was great, just mowing down zombies, these super zombies showing up, you know. And we got so close, man. We almost beat the thing because I think there's like 8 levels within that one level you get, and we almost beat it. I'm like, yo. And it's like because I'm not really like a multiplayer like type of guy, like co-op and stuff. And I'm mostly like a narrative person, but the controls in this were so good. I had so much fun playing my friends. I don't care about the story. Just give me zombies to kill. And I also like the fact that it's not brainless either. Like I see when I started playing it, I was playing it wrong. I'm running around.
Right. Oh,
and my boy's like, yo, you need to chill right now, bro. You're going to get us killed. You know? Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me hang back.
Right.
Yeah. I was making it too hot. I was being a typical New York Dominican. Like, yo, let's light it up. You know? You know? So I was like, oh, let me step back. And when I stepped back and chilled, it clicked. Like, oh, this is dope. And it's not just a brainless shooter. This is dope. You got to strategize. You can't just run off the cuff. Great stuff, man. So that's the public beta, and I'll probably rock with the final version. It's again, I had a blast, man. So I'm down with that.
And again, on Game Pass. So
Game Pass. There you go. So
Game Pass day one.
Oh, we mentioned Game Pass a lot around here.
Game Pass is great, despite what some fanboys may say. It's fantastic. But so that's why I'm playing. There's another game I can't talk about, NDA. Sure. And I'm looking forward to playing Ghost of Tsushima again. That was my game of the year last year. Loved it. Got the platinum in it. So when they announced this joint, I'm like $30 for DLC, and on PS5, let's go. You know. Great game, man. So I'm looking forward to that.
I still need to pick that up. I have a PS4, and I definitely want to play that.
Yeah. So you should check it out. It's really fun, man.
I'm waiting until I get my PS5.
Yeah.
What, so you sure? Got one. Is there? I thought there were.
I mean, they don't exist, but like, but you know, if I happen to run into the Blue Fairy and she grants me a wish, my wish would be that I get a PS5, not to become a real boy, but to get a PS5.
You know. Yo, that is still wild how people like it sold 10 million units and there's still people who cannot get it. So I'm wondering, imagine if there weren't shortages.
Well, at the same time, imagine if there weren't bots,
scalpers,
right? Because I like, right? Like I know a lot of people. I know 6 people that have PS5s, right? You know, and apparently 10 million have been sold. Yeah, but like you can go to a bot farm's house. And they've got, wall to wall. They've got a wall of PS5s, right? So
exactly. Yeah, think about it like this, right? Because I heard, according to reports, as many as 10%, are in bots' hands. So I'm like, that's 1 million consoles, man.
Right.
That is crazy. Yeah.
I think that number's low. I don't think that the install base is 90% of the sell through. I don't think it's 90%. Look at the MPD numbers on the games.
Yeah, no, right? they're not there. And I remember Jim Ryan complaining about the attach rate wasn't as high. Of course, it's not because nobody has the console, right? Right. Like, or nobody has game. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're a bot, you're not buying games.
Right?
There's no games.
Right. There are no games. Yeah. Well, that's the truth. That's how you do the ratio. Is the attach rate per console, right?
Yeah.
So. But there are no games.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because think about this, and this shocked me. And here's the thing, just make a caveat. I understand that the Ratchet and Clank series has never been like a top ultra big seller, but you would think there's no games right now. This would be a big seller on PlayStation. Only sold 1 million. I'm like, okay, so we got 10 million consoles with air quotes, for the listeners, and only 1 million copies when there's no games. I don't know, man. Something's fishy about that,
So so that's what I'm saying. I think that number's probably closer to 50%.
Oh, wow, half?
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah. I mean, well, if the software sales are any indication,
you might be right, bro.
So, like, let's say only 20% of the user base of the PlayStation 5 owners bought Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Right? That's 1 million copies.
Yeah.
And 1 million copies of 20% is 5 million consoles.
That's a good point.
You gotta think of it though that this is the first backwards compatible PlayStation in years since the fat PS3. I mean, you got to think that maybe a lot of those consoles people just bought them to future-proof themselves, but also play the backlog of the PS4.
Oh, sure, but I'm definitely gonna buy new software.
Well, yeah, sure.
To justify the
but
purchase of this big new console. I don't know, man. I would buy at least one game.
Well, yeah, true.
Right? And if there was a game, if there was a PS5 exclusive game that I'm going to buy, it's going to be the big, bright, colorful one.
Yeah, exactly.
That I can show off on my TV.
For sure.
Yeah. And listen, like I said, not Returnal. But here's the thing about Returnal, though. Even though I feel how I feel about that game,
right.
Still a good showcase, though, man. Visually,
yeah,
but,
I mean, Housemarque does great work. They do great stuff with particle effects, but like if your choices are between Housemarque, incredible development house, or Insomniac, it's a no-brainer for me.
You know what I want to know? I want to know how many bought Miles Morales on PS5, because Miles Morales is still in the NPDs. The game sold 6 million and it's still going. And the reason I asked that is because initially, during the first month or so, it sold more on PlayStation 5, believe it or not, despite the install base. So I'm wondering, did it like flip now? Is it more PS4, or are all those being sold on PS5? And if that's the case, what does that say about Ratchet and Clank? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I would venture to guess that a lot of people that are buying their consoles are buying them in bundles. Are there even any PS5 bundles? I know there are certain retailers that are selling them in bundles. Like,
I think
those
it's
are the
really
ones
only
that
GameStop, right?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, GameStop is definitely selling them in bundles.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's the one that the bots are staying away from.
Yeah.
$600-$700 bundles, and that has one of them has Miles Morales in it. So I think that's part of the attach rate for that, but.
Yeah, not to like sidetrack too much, but like I wonder if there could be something done to like curtail that. Like, for example, I love what Steam Deck did. It's like, yo, if you made an account after June, you can't buy this thing. Right. Right. So like maybe they can initiate like a one per customer type of deal. But I know these bosses circumvent that too. But I don't know, man.
I really thought the idea of letting people, matching people to their PSN account names and giving people access to purchase based on that. Like, if there are going to be shortages and you've got your consoles available, why don't you make them available to people that are established fans? Yeah. Right? They're already established. They're in your community. They give them the first rights of refusal, because they're the ones that are going to be buying your console. Yeah.
They did that to a limited extent. They sell emails to very limited. But how would you extend that to like a Walmart or a Target, or like how would you enforce that? How would you make them do it? Because remember, those are the first guys that broke the street. They're like, F this stuff.
Right.
We're doing it now, you know? Because like Sony had their show. By the way, that was BS too. They had the showcase for the PS5. Right. Like pre-orders go live tomorrow. Like tomorrow? Are you kidding me?
Right. And then
2 hours.
Okay.
2 hours. Dudes already in there buying them. I was one of them, by the way. Right. One of my boys would be like, "Yo, Tony, get your stuff right now, bro."
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man. So yeah, go ahead, man.
For me, when I bought my Series X, I bought it through Target, and they required store pickup for it.
Okay.
And I think that would have been. That would have been better for the PlayStation 5. Like if retailers, I mean, you can't do that obviously with Amazon, but every other retailer trying to sell it, you could be like, hey, you have to pick this up at store. And like, even though it is, COVID times or whatever, you can pick up a PS5 at Best Buy safely. Like they could bring it out to you, your car, mast and everything. Like I wish every retailer did that, like Target did with the Xbox when I bought it, because I thought that was a perfect solution.
No, you're right. So. And I'm glad you bring it up, because you're right. Because of COVID, all this stuff, that's what kind of helped the bots too. Because if this was normal times, they'd just be in the stores, that's it. But now everything had to be online, just gave these guys an excuse. And now because of that and the chip shortage, everything's just a mess. So it makes me...
It's been a comedy of errors. I would have, so I think Mike's suggestion is a great one. My suggestion also is like household limits.
Yes, yeah.
So just if you limit it not to just the customer, but to the address.
The address, yes.
Right, and that way, like, then if you're a guy who's running bots, you've got to have multiple addresses, and that's a lot of work that you have to go through. In order to secure yourself some PlayStation. And some people will, like, no matter what you do,
it'll curb it though.
Right. Yeah. It's not going to be foolproof, but it will curb it, right? Like, like the amount of effort that you have to go through in order to do stuff is crazy. I like my Wi-Fi password, I think is 27 characters long.
Wow.
Right? It's plain text.
Yeah. Right?
But it's 27 characters. And the way I feel about it is, if you can guess my password, you've earned the right to be on my network. Right? Like, so like, okay. But like at that point, if there's a hacker roaming around trying to find access, when they get to mine, they're going to be like, it's not worth the trouble. I'll go someplace else. And that's really all you want. All you want is somebody, just to deter people from exploiting your systems.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I don't know, man. And it makes me wonder, like, how much would the consoles, both of them in this case, how much would they have sold without the bots, without the Ronin, without the chip shortage, But then, and just to add this caveat, do you think they're selling this much because they're rare too? Like, if they were easily accessible, maybe that would curb things. I don't know, man. Because again, there's no games. There's no real reason to buy either of these consoles. Right. And I'm saying this is a PlayStation 5 owner. I'm like, there's no reason to own this thing right now. Yeah. So I'm wondering if the scarcity is also helping things as well, in a weird way. Yeah.
I think based on where we are in the market, at this point, a year and a half removed from the consoles launching, they should have been available, but I think prior to this, I think they all would have sold through anyway.
Yeah, they would have. But think about this: even now, the PlayStation 5 is the fastest selling PlayStation console of all time, with all these conditions. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, I'm guessing it would have probably sold 15 million.
If scarcity wasn't an issue, then I guess so. But I think also it was a perfect storm. So it's COVID, it's supply chain stuff. But I think because there's supply chain stuff and because there's COVID, we've got an excess of bots. And the shortage, Right, we've got an excess of bots. And the bots are buying up the stuff because they know, right? Because they know of the scarcity. So I think I don't know if the numbers would have been higher. I think the numbers would have been about the same. But I think the numbers are skewing more towards people that actually don't have the consoles on both sides. On on the PS5 side and then the Xbox side. I think the PS5 is the hotter commodity. It's the thing that more people want. I personally, I don't think if you're just a gamer and not just a PlayStation gamer, I think it makes more sense to get an Xbox. But they're hard to come by as well. But I do think that all of the circumstances are playing into their scarcity, as opposed to if there wasn't all of these external extenuating circumstances, I don't think they would have been selling any better.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, if you take everything into account, you're probably right. Like, it'd probably be around the same, But again, the chip shortage, that's affected everything. You can't even get I've never seen dudes waiting in line for graphics cards in my life until last year, So it's just like, bro, think about it. I've been wanting to build a new PC for a while now. I'm like, it's kind of funny because usually the thing that restricts you from buying a new PC or building a new PC is money. Right. Money's not an issue right now. It's just I can't get my 3080. Right. It's wild. I'm like, because I think I don't know. I mean, I know this doesn't apply to a lot of people, but for me, since I've just been home the whole time, I'm looking at my bank. I'm like, yo, where's all this money coming from? Because I'm not spending it going out and doing stuff.
Doing
so I got
dumb stuff.
all this money. Yeah, exactly. Because that's up. Yeah, $5 here, $10 here. It all adds up. I'm not doing it. I'm not traveling nowhere. So I'm like, look at all this money. So I'm like, I can buy a new PC. Then I look, no 3080. So I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I could build the shell of it, but it's like I want it all.
It's just teasing you.
Yeah, it's whack, man. It's whack.
You built the Ferrari, and now you're just waiting on the engine.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what?
Well, I've been playing Death's Door.
Oh, hey, that's a great game, man.
I am completely addicted to it.
Yeah.
I understand it's isometric, Tony.
Yeah,
but,
it is. Yeah,
but
But here's the thing. I'm gonna say this real quick. Despite being isometric, I think it's dope, man.
It's so good.
There's something. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about it that's just so enthralling.
I mean, it's
like everything about it. Yeah,
it's the art style. It's the music. It brings you in. It's the characters that you meet. It's the fighting it's tight. The controls are really, really good. I'm using the daggers, over the sword right now just to have a little bit of a different experience. And then I just got the fireball as well. So I'm not extremely far into it. I haven't beat the first boss, which is the witch, but I'm enjoying every step of the way with it. It's probably going to end up being one of my top games of the year for sure. Wow. So yeah, definitely get Death's Door. Plus, it's only $20. It for this type of experience, like game of the year contender experience for $20, totally worth it. Definitely get it. Get it for the music alone. I love the music. So, all right. Listeners, I've also dabbled into the newest season of Apex. Death's Door has just grabbed my attention too much. So
wow, kept them even away from Apex.
Yeah,
that's high praise.
That's high praise.
High praise.
So let's move on, guys. Let's get into some news topics here. Grand Theft Auto is in the news recently. Rockstar is seemingly going to bring out a trilogy remaster of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, as well as San Andreas coming out this fall. And reports are also saying that it's coming to the Switch too. So a lot of people can experience those 3 games. What are your thoughts on the remaster here, Tony?
Yeah, we talked about this on Throwdown. The thing that caught my interest, this is still a report right now, it's still rumor. The thing that caught my interest was that apparently it's going to be running on Unreal 3. Or not just Unreal, I don't know, it might be 4 or whatever, but Unreal Engine, like, how is that going to work? But it's also kind of smart because, those game engines, that's from the PS2 era. That's old, so I think that's pretty interesting. But, yeah, I think it's good because the only really, the most updated versions we have right now, I believe, are the mobile ports. Come on, I'm not trying to play no mobile ports. I want to play some real stuff. So if they do that, that'd be fantastic. Because, and here's the thing. Because, by the way, I don't know if we're going to talk about which one's our favorite in this. Because for years, I've always fluctuate, man, between Vice City and San Andreas. Those are just my two favorite Grand Theft Autos, period, because they each have something, that I love. Like Vice City, 80s, you know what I'm saying? Just drenched in neon Miami Vice. The soundtrack is crazy. But San Andreas, man, not only does it have, the dope, like hip hop stuff. By the way, I stopped listening to hip hop around like the mid 90s. I thought it got whack, but the hip hop I like, it's in that game, early 90s gangster rap, the real stuff. So you had that, but the gameplay is just so big, so crazy. There's so many things. I remember for a week straight, all I did was just pop in the game, get into a Harrier jet, and just start fighting over the military. Like how you could just make up your own games in there, Yeah. Fantastic, but so that's why I'm like, San Andreas has the better gameplay, but like Vice City is closer to my heart, you know what I'm saying? Because of the 80s, but 3, man. It's funny how 3 kind of weirdly gets lost in the shuffle now. That game changed the whole world, man. Yeah. Like, you never played anything like that. Not exactly like that, when you played that, you're like, whoa. And I wonder if, like, the newer generations who grew up, every game's open world now. So
every game is GTA.
Yeah, every game's GTA, which is crazy, right? So every game's GTA. So how would younger generations look back at these 3 games? Like, would they just see them as like quaint or something? Because I think they might. But like for guys like us, we're like, yo, this changed our lives, man. I remember GTA 3. My boy had it, right? I'm going to his house. He's like, yo, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? He's like, yeah, I can go wherever I want. I'm like, so you can go over there, yeah, and over there. Yeah, and over there, like what? Give me this controller. Let me see what's up. I remember I borrowed the game from him. Right, I played it for like a good month, beat it like 3 times. I'm like, okay, give it back. I got to buy this thing for myself now. Right, beat it 50 million more times. Bought the strategy guide. I went ham. I remember the first game I waited in line to buy, pre-ordered Vice City. Like, I mean, after the Dreamcast and all. I mean, after I Vice City. I remember GameStop didn't have it. You know what I'm like? Come on, bro. Like I had to wait like 2 extra hours, bro. It was an event when Vice City was coming out, man. So I think it's dope to have these games, but I wonder if if it's on Unreal Engine, will it kind of take away from that charm of those games? Because I feel that aesthetic, even though it looks cheap now, like that was also part of it too. Yeah.
So
what do you think?
I think we wax nostalgic about polygonal graphics and the way they did those graphics, but you don't want to see those today.
Yeah.
You don't want even just watching YouTube videos of those graphics leaves you to believe that those graphics are fake because you can't remember them looking as bad as they do in this video when you were playing it originally.
That's how I think of the original Tomb Raider.
I'm right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Original Tomb Raider was rough.
It was rough.
But Lara Croft was hot.
Them triangle boobs.
Right. I am very much a fan of this news. The GTA 3 trilogy. Which I hope is kind of what they call it, because it basically, that's what it was, right? It was GTA 3, GTA 3 engine revised and improvised on from GTA 3 to Vice City to San Andreas. Yep. And these games, like what they were able to accomplish on the PS2 is remarkable. Just absolutely remarkable. And I guess the other thing to think about is that they were all released in one console generation, and then we got 2 more games on the same console generation, 2 more Grand Theft Auto games on the next console generation, and we've been playing the last Grand Theft Auto game on the next 2 console generations. So the GTA 4 and GTA 5 both came out on the 360 PS3 era.
Yo, just to punctuate what you just said, my man Brian, right, on Throwdown, he's the youngest guy, right? We were asked a question for the question show, like, what's the game you remember playing fondly when you were a kid? He's like, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Right.
And he wasn't even joking. He wasn't even joking.
Right.
He wasn't even joking.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We all stopped. Like when he said that, we all paused. We're like, "Holy crap, he's right."
Yeah, he's right.
So to to kind of like iterate on that a little bit more, like I remember last year when this might be an odd game of the year, but my game of the year last year was Tony Hawk, the remaster 1 and 2. And it's because it brought back so many feelings and nostalgia, and like just to have an HD version of the original 2 Tony Hawks, I was floored. And this is giving me that same vibes. Like I'm really excited to explore like Grand Theft Auto 3 in the same exact way that I did when I was a kid, and that was get 5 stars and try to run away. Like that's all that I did.
That's right.
Really playing it, and that's what I'm excited for. And to do it in an HD remaster, I honestly cannot wait. So, anything else on the remaster trilogy, guys?
Well, yeah. So they said something that was really interesting. They said that they were going to use the Unreal Engine to update the graphics for some of it, and then some of it will have original graphics. So I don't know how they're going to marry those two very disparate things. I'm interested to see, but also interested in seeing how much of the music, the licensing for the soundtracks they're going to be able to get.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was also part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting in a car and listening to the talk show or your favorite radio station for hours on end. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. I hope it comes out. I hope it's $40.
Yeah.
And
$40 sounds like a really good price for that.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're gonna just be bundled together, which is good. Unlike Final Fantasy games, bro, I'm still heated about that. You got 6 Final Fantasy games being sold each for between $12 and $18. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. And what gets me more mad is I'm trying to contain myself. I know I'm gonna buy these, man, just because they got me on the hook. I love Final Fantasy. I'm like, oh, they got me, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, they got you.
Yeah, but then again, I'm talking all this stuff. How many copies of GTA 5 haven't I bought? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm part of the problem. I bought GTA 5 on PS3, PS4, PC, and I'm gonna get it on 5. You already know I'm gonna get it on 5.
Oh no, you don't have to buy it again, do you? Do you have to buy it again?
Yeah, Rockstar said we know we're getting your money, so you're buying this again, bro. they don't care, you know.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, guys, there was a couple indie showcases this past week, one by Nintendo and one by Xbox. Tony, I know you said you're not really into indies, but is there maybe one game that like stood out to you from either of those conferences?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know these happened until I saw the show notes, because that's how in touch with indie games. It's just not my thing, you know what I'm saying? Here's the thing about indies, because I want to just make this perfectly clear. I respect indies, and I think they're vital, right? Because indies could do things that big games can't, and if those mechanics work well, bam, we get them in the big games, you know. So they serve a vital role, and they're serving a vital role right now because there's no games right now. So they're filling in that ditch, you know what I'm saying? But I'm looking around right now. One thing that said, this is from the Nintendo showcase, because I love the first game, Axiom Verge 2, bro.
There you go.
Give me that. That game. What I love about the game was like it reminded me of playing the first Metroid, not Super Metroid. Top echelon game, but this game more reminded me of the first one, because that game, man, it was like frightening. Nobody really talks about it. It was eerie playing that game, you know. So when I played Axiom Verge, it gave me that same type of feel. So out of these right here, this is the main one that stood out to me. I know a lot of people talking about this boyfriend game. That's not right. I think
we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll definitely get to that.
But yeah, that's the main one for me. Axiom Verge 2.
Cicero, what is one game from those two conferences that stood out?
Oh man, one game?
Just one game.
The opposite problem of me. I'm like, can I find one?
Right. All right. Well, then if I'm forced to choose just one game, it's Sam and Max Save the World.
There you go.
Sam and Max series, great series from back in the day. They were old like point and click adventures from Lucasfilm or LucasArts.
LucasArts, yeah.
I'm so happy that this series is still around. So yeah, Sam & Max on Game Pass day one. Go ahead and give it a shot. They're lots of fun. They're delightful.
Is this a new one, Cicero?
Yeah, this is
okay.
It's a new one.
Dope.
Yeah. Well, it's the remastered version of Sam & Max Save the World.
Oh, okay. That's cool though, man.
So, but yeah, remastered in 4K, and basically it's gonna be new for 99% of the people that play it because they didn't play it originally. So
true. All right, the one game that stood out to me was Lab Rat. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but it's like this Portal meets Puzzler. Like you're trying to... it's almost like Portal, but in an isometrical view, and gives you the Portal vibes. Has some humor to it. It was originally announced early for PC and solely for PC, but Xbox actually scooped it up, so it's coming next year. And then you can also sign up for a beta right now as well. And we'll maybe link that in the show notes down below if you wanted to try it out. But yeah. There we go. There's a bunch more that was actually announced, listeners. So definitely check out those reveals from this past week. All right, guys, it's time for Test Your Might.
Test your might.
You guys ready to debate?
We got to do the Mortal Kombat poses. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do it, right?
Well, Tony, just the way this works, basically. So, like, for example, this first question, if Cicero chooses one game, you can't choose that one to argue. You got to choose one of the others. Basically, try to disagree with him for the most part. If you agree too wholeheartedly, we'll let it slide. All right. First debate on the list here. We've already talked about it, the GTA Remaster trilogy, but let's debate. Which of the three is the best game? And so, Tony, since you are our guest, you actually have the power. You could send it over to Cicero first, or you can argue first, whichever you'd like.
Yeah, because again, like this is going to be very interesting because I could make an argument for both games. So yeah,
there are 3 games. Sir.
I know, but let's just be real here. We're going to really debate too. Cicero, why don't you start us off, man? I have something to bounce off. Because again, I could pick either one, so I'm just going to do the opposite of what you pick.
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to say that they saved the best for last, and that GTA 3 San Andreas is the best of that trilogy.
Okay, and why?
Oh, okay. Am I telling you why?
Yeah. Go right into why.
because they did more with more, right? It played out like one of those West Coast gangster films. You had the entire state of San Andreas for the very first time. You were in an entire state. You got to fly into Vegas with planes. There were jetpacks. There was casinos. You could get haircuts. You could get fat. You had girlfriends. There were so many things that they added to the game that have become staples of the game. Like the gang warfare, where you could actually start earning money by gaining new locations. All of these different things that they were able to add to the game. So not only was it this sandbox game where, like Tony said, you could go there and you could go there and you could go there, but they added all of these other elements on top of that game that were brought in from all of these other games, and they did them all incredibly well. GTA 3 San Andreas, just chef's kiss.
All right, Tony, which one and why?
Yeah, all right. I knew Cicero's answer, by the way. And I'm like, I knew I was giving myself a challenge here because San Andreas is the GOAT. But yeah, for me, Vice City And I guess the thing I'm not going to disagree with anything you said because I agree with all that. But one thing about Vice City is that not only is it like a better version of the first game, right? But, and again, I love San Andreas, but that game, it did get to some points where like, this is too much going on right now. I remember like I was driving from one state to the other. I'm like, yo, I'm literally driving for 15 minutes. Like, can I just play the game right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to play. Vice City still it was bigger than the third game, but it was still like, you know, you could get around places really, really fast. You know what I'm saying? So I felt the world right there was a little bit more manageable. I also felt the narrative was a little bit more focused than it was in San Andreas. Again, love that San Andreas, but it also felt like three stories jumbled into one. You know, you had the hood story, and then you had like this other like kind of rags to riches type of story, back to the hood story. I loved it all, but it's like it could be like, oh, like if you don't like, I liked all that, but if you don't like that stuff, like if you don't like one genre over another, it may not gel with you. But Vice City, it was the same. It was basically, you know, Scarface the whole time, you know, and it just stayed with that consistently. And then this one's a little bit personal because obviously it's not going to be for everybody. But, you know, if you are a child of the 80s, which I am, I remember I was nostalgic for the 80s when I was in my early 20s already. You know what I'm saying? So just playing this game and just listening to there's no radio station I don't like, man. Every single station. And I love how precise they were. Like, the game doesn't tell you what year it's in, but you know it's 1985 because there's no songs from 1986. Every song's from 1985. Like, there's current shows out now. Like, Manny and I were talking about this the other day. Fear Street, I believe it is, right? We're both like, yo, why are they playing? This is supposed to be 1992 or whatever. Why are they playing stuff from 1996? You know, so
right.
So I know it's a little bit of non sequitur there, but I just love that. I'd feel it.
Fear Street.
Yeah, and and again, you know, and I'll say this too, personal thing. I like because it took place in Miami. I like kind of like the Hispanic representation that was going on there. You had Dominicans, you had Cubans mostly, you know. But I'm like, this is kind of dope, you know. You had Haitians and stuff. I'm like, okay, it kind of reminded me of some of the things the people I grew up with back in the day and stuff. So it was cool because we knew a lot of people from Miami and all that. So because of that, I feel that it could be better than San Andreas. But like I said, I always debate this in my head because I love those two games so much for different reasons. But I guess just the fact that it's more of a concise experience other than, San Andreas, you know, even though it's rated too much, which we would see. It's funny because now I say that about San Andreas. Think about modern games now; those are forget about it. You know, I think it's modest in comparison now. But back then, it's like again, I'm like, okay, so I'm driving from Los Santos to San Fierro. I'm like, bro, I'm still driving, man. What's going on here?
Right.
You know,
it's a 10-minute drive. Yeah. There's no fast travel.
Yeah, nope.
Cicero rebuttal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I mean, the thing is, Tony's right. If soundtrack is where it's at, then Vice City wins. Even though San Andreas has an incredible soundtrack, but I would argue, and I'm now arguing against my choice. I would argue that it is more disjointed, more anachronistic of a soundtrack than Vice City's is. Vice City, it doesn't matter who you were, what was going on. You could turn on to any station in Vice City, and that's your jam. In San Andreas, there are stations that you're going to turn on, and you're like, that's not my jam. But these other 6 stations are my jam completely, and I'll just ignore that station. So if it's soundtrack that you're after, definitely Vice City gets it. But the thing that's great about GTA games, or one of the things that's great about GTA games, is that they put the sand in the sandbox. They put the box in the sandbox as well. And that's what's great about San Andreas. You know, your game of the year last year, Mike, was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Remaster. Well, if you want to do some BMX tricks, you can do them in San Andreas. You want to do some skateboarding tricks? You can do them in San Andreas. You want to go swimming? You can do that in San Andreas. Want to go boxing, work out in the gym? You can do that in San Andreas as well. You can do, there's just from the extravagant to the mundane you can do in GTA San Andreas. It really just kind of opens up the floodgates for sandbox playing. And so that, the narrative is more concise in Vice City, but you're not playing San Andreas for the narrative. You're playing the narrative in San Andreas just long enough so that you can open up all three areas and just have a great time.
Tony, rebuttal.
Yeah, I would say the everything you said is true, but I think you can get lost in some of the side stuff. Like I know what happened with me. Like I'm like, all right, I'm spending all day today getting buff. I'm gonna go bike riding just like level up my lungs and stuff. But it takes you away from the main story. You're right that Vice City doesn't have as many side distractions, but the few side distractions that are there are still tied into your like gangster lifestyle, not gangster lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? So even when I'm doing the side stuff, I'm not talking about jumping cars off of ramps, which every GTA does. Like I never felt like I was doing all this extraneous stuff just to like buff up my character. And that's also something I kind of complain about with modern games. I'm like, why does every game need to be an RPG? Like, can't RPGs just be RPGs? Let these other games be other games. So even though all that stuff was great, San Andreas, like, let's see how fat it gets CJ. Like it was a distraction of a sort. And the only one thing I was, and I love this, but I'm like, you guys are getting a little silly now because Grand Theft Auto was always silly. When you started going to the alien base and stuff, like, all right, bro, what are we doing right now? Like you could tell they were like, okay, we're just gonna go unfiltered, raw, stupid, crazy. Let's let the gloves off, and that's great. I love that stuff. But if you wanted still a little bit more of a grounded feeling while still being a satire, which is what all the Grand Theft Autos are. They're all satire. That's why I think you would like Vice City better, just because it's more of a concise game, not only in terms of story, but also gameplay. Not too much extraneous stuff.
All right. I think it's Tony. I think the verdict's clear. I like your argument about mentioning Scarface, the soundtrack, as well as being a little bit more concise story. Sorry, Cicero. Tony's got this first one.
Oh, you're wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The funny part is I wanted you to win. It's awesome.
All right. Good debate, gentlemen, to start us off. Next, and a reminder, we are family friendly, but let's have a little fun still with this one. Boyfriend Dungeon came out, and in it, your weapons are also your love interests. So, what weapon in video game history would be the best love interest? Cicero, you're up. You can choose to go first or second.
Well, I went first last time, so I'm choosing to go second this time.
All right, Tony, you're up first.
All right.
What weapon would be the biggest or the best love interest?
It's funny you said biggest. I don't know if that was a slip of the tongue because my weapon is
Freudian slip.
the weapon I pick is the BFG from Doom. You already know. I almost went with the Rhino from Ratchet and Clank, right? Because I'm like, if I'm gonna have a weapon that's like also like, I guess in my case a girlfriend, it's like I want something that's gonna kill as many people as possible. You know what I'm saying? So I'll pick that. If it like turns into like a woman because I never played boyfriend dungeons. I don't know how you with the weapon, like I don't know how you do that. You know what I'm saying? But like if the BFG can turn into a woman, I think that would be a good lover, very explosive, I'm trying to be friendly over here, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like it would just be, it would be big effing fun with that weapon, and when we're done and dudes want to come over to talking all this smack, just blow them all away. Actually in the BFG case, just pew, big nuke goes off.
All right, Cicero, what's your weapon of choice?
So I think Tony was onto something when he was saying, like if I'm gonna have a weapon, that weapon's gonna be, have some level of sentience. So I went with I think the weapon I would most like to date is Skippy the Talking Gun from Cyberpunk 2077.
Skippy the Talking Gun. Why?
Yes. Because Skippy talks to you. He can keep you company. He throws out insults, and he helps you determine what type of person you want to be. Do you want to be someone who eviscerates everyone? Or do you want to be someone who puts everyone to sleep? Right? You incapacitate everyone. So, and once you do that, you and Skippy can live out either your Bonnie and Clyde or your Chuck fantasies, right? So in the TV show Chuck, they had guns, but those guns, oh no, I guess it's like, not Chuck, what was it? The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They have guns, but their guns are icers, so they just stun everybody with their guns. So with Skippy, I could have the non-lethal incapacitation, or I could just go out there and we could really, take this up to 11. But Skippy's gonna keep me feeling warm and fuzzy at night.
Tony, rebuttal.
And during the day.
Yeah. BFG could just blow Skippy away, man. And not only Skippy, but like the entire city block. You can't do that. You can't, but it's a style choice because, like, with me, I'm not trying to show nobody mercy in games, bro. You coming after me, you're dead. And what better way to ensure that than just killing not only your enemies but literally anybody else in the block is like you shouldn't have been there in the first place, man. So the BFG very efficient in that way, and since it's actually if I'm using a BFG in a cyberpunk world, it'll be even better for the evil corporations because they probably want those tenements destroyed anyway, so they could build over them, so I'll be helping out even more people that way, even though they're evil people,
Right,
yeah.
Right. So you're out there helping the evil people. I just want to say something. Sometimes what's great about having a spouse, a partner, a better half, is that they have good friends. They have friends, and you wind up becoming friends with their friends. Well, one of Skippy's friends is Rihanna. So, So if I can become friends with one of America's newest billionaires as a result of dating my talking gun, I'm gonna do it. Let's get that Fenty, baby.
Wow.
I'm with it.
I don't even have a rebuttal. I think you just won this one, bro. I got that. It's my date only works in case demons show up and start invading the Earth.
You're funny, Tony. Although you put up a good fight, Tony, I was gonna give it to Cicero anyway because he chose a gun and he argued eloquently that this gun helps make a better you.
Yes.
One that supports you. So, giving it to Cicero. We're tied 1-1.
Oh,
going into the third round. Let's do this, guys. So, third question here. Xbox has announced they will be having a Gamescom conference, and that's on August 24th, I believe. What would be the most surprising reveal? So, be as wild as you want. This could be not related to anything that we already know. It could be whatever you want. Be as crazy. What would be the most surprising reveal? Cicero, you won, so Tony has the power. Tony, do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, and I'll go first. You specifically said we go wild, so I'll go wild.
Ahead, man. Do whatever you want.
Because I'm still upset about this, man. Scalebound is back.
Okay, that's a little wild. I hear you on that.
They made up and stuff. Everything's cool now. The game's back, and it's gonna be hotter than ever.
Okay, well, let's get Cicero's take, and then we'll come back to you, Tony. What do you got, Cicero?
Oh man, I was gonna say Scalebound, but now I'm not gonna say Scalebound. So what I'm going to say is that Microsoft is going to reveal their streaming dongle solution.
Okay.
So we're getting a new SKU that is going to allow you to plug in an HDMI port or an HDMI 2.1 port on your 4K television that will allow you to get 4K 60 or 4K 120 and VRR, basically an Xbox Series S or X just streaming with a dongle and an Xbox controller.
Okay. Tony, why would Scalebound be surprising? Maybe explain it for listeners who might not know, as well as idea while you're at it.
All right. With Scalebound, it's a game that was like in development for a long time. It was kind of in the vein of and I'm just saying off of what we heard because the game never even really came out, but it looked like it was in the vein of Devil May Cry, but it also had dragons in it. And one of the problems that Xbox has always had for a while is, and they have tried, but they could never really like penetrate the Japanese market. You know what I'm saying? So I think a game like this, but I'm going to take it beyond that because not to sound pessimistic, I don't think they ever will penetrate that Japanese market just because of the fact that, I'm trying to be tactful here, Japanese, they still have that mentality of like, F Western games, F Western studios is all about their stuff. But there's a lot of weeboos in this country, right? In the Western world, there's a lot of, otaku fans and stuff, right? So a game like this, I think would go a long way as an exclusive, obviously, on Game Pass day one, right? We didn't have that option before to bring in a lot of the Japanese anime type of crowd. I remember when this game was canceled, a lot of people that were hyped for it. They're like, why am I getting an Xbox now? Even with me, that's when I put my Xbox on. I'm like, okay, there's no point having this thing anymore, because I had already been playing most of my Xbox games on PC anyway, but I just kept the Xbox on just for the sake of it. But it was like, all right, why? So I think a game like that would just be good for the branding, just because, again, one of the things Xbox still has this problem with is, because how did the Xbox get big? It was because of the bro gamer, for the lack of a better choice, right? That kind of image doesn't work anymore. In 2021, we're trying to appeal to everybody, but they still have this stigma about them. So I think a game like that, and they're doing great strides, don't get me wrong, but I think a game like that would go a long way of going, okay, this is the new type of Xbox. Again, they are making those strides already, but this would be, and not only would it show that, but it would show like, okay, guys, we understand that you were hyped for this game. We worked things out. We settled everything. We're giving this to you. Day one, Game Pass. So I think that would be that thing right there. That's a megaton right there if that happens. And
this is real.
Yeah, actually, I'm supposed to rebut him. Here's the thing: I can't rebut that, man, because I'm like, I know that's not the spirit of the segment.
I have to, man.
I'm gonna sound like an idiot though, because I'm like, that'd be hot, Wow, I actually don't know how to rebut that because I'm like, that's kind of what people will want, and that's the future. Let's just be real here. But I think at this point, I think people would rather play on their consoles right now. Like, here's the thing. Actually, I will say this though. I could make this case. I don't know how to say this without being like a jerk, but I'll say it. A lot of gamers, not all of them, obviously, just a good chunk of them, can be very, very close-minded, right? So I don't know if they would be sold on a dongle, like, that's not a console, So I don't know if they would be necessarily sold on that. So I think what maybe you could do is maybe sell like a smaller looking console you can plug into your TV that you stream, but at the same time,
that's the Series S.
Yeah, Series S, but at the same time, it's like with internet speeds in some places being kind of spotty, some people are like, why would I get a dongle? I can't stream these games anyway. It's going to look terrible. It's going to play terrible. So why would I want that? So I could definitely see some pushback, even though I personally would think it would be dope. I think there would be some pushback going, we don't care about that. I want your console, and I can't even buy one of those.
Cicero, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so what I'll say is I'll extol the virtues of choice. And I think that this dongle at preferably a $149 price point, but more likely a $199 price point, I think is actually still $199 price point with a controller is still, I think, a great price for a dongle that will basically create a portal to Microsoft streaming ability, and you can play your game streaming and or remote into an Xbox that you have on that same network. So then you can have access to your Xbox game library and just stream that directly, or you can stream directly from the cloud using xCloud, and let that be your xCloud dongle. So this makes it extremely portable. It also provides you with an option for an additional television in your home that isn't connected to your native console. So it gives you all of these choices, and that's the thing. So if you're in an area where you have reliable high-speed internet, and if you are having difficulty finding an Xbox Series S or X, or if you don't necessarily have the ability to spend the money on an Xbox Series S, or maybe you want a Series X and you just don't have the money for that, you can get this dongle and use that as your way to be in the Game Pass ecosystem and play your Game Pass games, and have them on a big display, and then them be available and ready for you without any downloads, with very little latency, all of the things that you really want. And if it's not something, if you feel like you're not in the right demographic or right in the right use case for it, you don't have to buy it. There are still actual physical consoles that you can buy, and you can get the exact same experiences directly from those consoles, or you can save a little bit of money, save a little bit of your footprint, and get yourself a dongle with a controller and connect it that way. So it seems like a no-brainer to me. It seems like a great thing that will make it easier for people to be part of that Game Pass ecosystem, which is what Microsoft has really been leaning into going forward. So I think, to me, it's a slam dunk. What isn't a slam dunk to me is a game that, despite the smatterings of a very vocal minority, it disappeared for a reason, because I don't think they had a direction with Scalebound. I think they had a bunch of ideas that they wanted to execute, but some of those ideas didn't really jive with the others. They didn't fit together, and they kept winding up having creative problems when it came to marrying these two different ideas about what or more ideas about what this game should be, and then execute those ideas. I think this is just going to be another one of those games that we heard about but we'll never see, and that'll just be the way it is. And much like what Tony said about Japanese gamers is, Microsoft really hasn't done a good job of creating software that would entice those gamers, and I think that trend will continue.
Tony, go ahead with the rebuttal if you want.
Couple of things here. By the way, I just have to do this. Talking about an Xbox dongle.
There you go.
I'm going to push back on one thing, because again, this is a bit of a tough one, because I agree with what C said. The pricing I disagree with, though, bro. I think $199 is too much. I just looked it up because I had to be sure about the Stadia. You could buy a controller and I think it's a Chromecast, $80. Right. I think that's what Xbox should do.
Well, yeah, that's because it came down. It was $170.
Yeah, because like 100 tops. That's the only thing I would
really for a 4K 2.1.
Oh,
4K 2.1. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's
Chromecast is just 1080p.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
So the Chromecast you get with Stadia is a 4K Chromecast. Yeah. It's the Chromecast Ultra.
Okay.
But they're just not playing their games in 4K yet. But it's not the 4K. The Chromecast Ultra isn't 2.1.
Yeah.
So this will allow you to stream Xbox Series X quality via this dongle.
Yeah. I agree with that. And as for Scalebound, again, this is an interesting segment because I'm like, I don't disagree with anything you just said right there. Like that, the game was canceled for a reason, right? But it would be, and again, because it's a wild thing right now. It's never going to happen. But I think it would be cool just to, even if it's like a different team, it's like, yo, we got you guys. And here's the thing. This one I will rebut though. I don't agree that Xbox hasn't tried to woo Japanese gamers. They have. It's just the Japanese gamers don't care. You know, think about it.
Right.
You go back to the 360, right? They had Blue Dragon. You had
Lost
Odyssey, and there's another one they had, right? They tried. They have tried.
Oh yeah.
Dudes don't care. You know, so that's a big hurdle. That's why I'm like a piece of the Weebos, you know, a piece of those cats. Because that's the only way you're gonna get them, and you see it kind of happening. It's like, wait, Xbox has JRPGs, you know. So I think that would be cool. I agree it's not going to happen, obviously, but it would be kind of dope. By the way, this is just a rumor right now. Apparently, like one of the reasons the game came out or the game ran into problems is because they funneled their money to Nier Automata instead, Platinum. You know? I don't know if you heard that. Because again, we don't really know what happened behind the scenes or something happened, you know. And I think what's his name? Hideki Kamiya, right? I think he ended up blocking Phil Spencer. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Wow.
You know,
he said something about his mama.
Yeah, he probably did. You know, so yeah, again, I'll even give this one. This like I got no rebuttal about that because I think the dongle would be dope. You know,
well. I mean, you want to give it to him, but you had some good arguments. I mean, first and foremost, you said Scalebound would be going into Game Pass day one, and that's literally what Cicero was arguing for. Here's this dongle. Here's this Game Pass dongle. Oh, guess what? You can play Scalebound.
Combine them, right?
And Tony, I'm gonna surprise you. I'm giving it to you.
Whoa!
And the reason is because one. Cicero's argument is not as surprising, which is what the question was, because there has been rumors that there was going to be a dongle for TVs and stuff, and Scalebound would be surprising, man. that would be crazy. So
you're right. Because I started going into that. So I'm like, I forgot about the surprising part. Even I picked something surprising, but because I'm listening to Cicero, I'm like, that's gonna happen though, bro. Like, it's gonna happen. I just don't think
it's gonna happen at Gamescom.
No. But I'm and you know what, guys? I'm gonna extrapolate even further. I'm going further right now. I think in the future, I don't know when, don't quote me on this, I don't know when, but I think there will be a future where you buy a new TV and has an Xbox app and a PlayStation app on it. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Oh, yeah. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but you're right about it. I forgot.
But not a Nintendo app. Not a Nintendo app.
Right. No. Nintendo you won't be able to download games on the next Nintendo console.
Yeah. The only way you're going to get a Nintendo app on your TV is if it's a Nintendo TV. That's the only way.
Right.
You know?
And it's made out of the same cardboard Labo was.
Right. It's a Labo.
All right. Finally on Test Your Might, we have our blind fight listeners. Blind fight, once again, is they don't know what the question is. You guys have been around gaming for a while, and so I decided to create a question for you today.
Uh-oh.
What is the best year in gaming?
Oh, yo.
That is the debate now. We got some heavy hitters here, okay?
Right.
And you cannot choose the same year and debate it in a different spin than your opponent. You have to choose different years. So, Tony, you won the last debate, so Cicero actually has the choice. Are you going first or are you going second?
You know what? I'm going to go second this time because what he chooses will determine what I choose.
Okay. Tony, you're first. What's the best year in gaming?
Sister, you're gonna have a hard time right now, man. Because as instant I heard this, I was like, I know what year I'm picking. I know what year. I'm picking the Cambrian explosion of gaming years, man. 2007.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and I got Google right here. I'm gonna list some games that came out.
Yeah.
Some of these franchises are still with us today, right? BioShock, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the game. Remember how back in the day everybody was trying to make the Halo killer? This game came out, wasn't even trying to be the Halo killer. It killed Halo, right? That's the premiere. Halo 3 came out that year. Assassin's Creed, the first one. Portal, Mario Galaxy, Crisis, a game that PC still can't properly replicate. Crisis, dude, Mike, Mass Effect. Mass Effect. All right, God of War 2, Team Fortress 2, legendary game right there. The Orange Box, Uncharted, bro. The first Uncharted drop. We don't talk about the first Witcher game, though, so we'll skip that one right there. Let's see. Ratchet and Clank, I don't know which one that is, but those ones I picked on, I'm like, bro, those games literally made up that entire generation, and they're still with us today. So 2007, that's a heavy year. So I think I know what Cicero may pick, but yeah, I'm sticking with 2007, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cicero, I want you to explain your year and then also rebut.
Okay, so I could have picked 97. Could have picked, what was that, 2017, 2018? But my year had games like Tenchu, the original Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Talk about games that have been with you for forever. Oddworld, Abe's Exodus. Sonic Adventure. But it is Grim Fandango. It is the year that it's known for. Maybe Half-Life. It's not known for Half-Life. It is known for StarCraft. It's also known for Metal Gear Solid. It's also known for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This is 1998, ladies and gentlemen. Also, games that came out that year. We want to talk about Sonic Adventure, Pokemon Yellow, the original Spyro the Dragon, the original Unreal Engine. It's not a game, but it's a lifestyle. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Shout out to Jelly 1080. The original Mario Party, and one of my personal favorites, a guilty pleasure of mine. Bust a Groove, a dancing game that was exclusive to the PlayStation. 1998.
Why is it better than 2007?
Why is it better than 2007? Because some of the games that came around in 2007 drew their inspiration from games that came out in 1998. The Orange Box wouldn't exist without Half-Life. You've got these first-person shooters. They wouldn't exist without the Unreal Engine. Guys, I forgot. Resident Evil 2. That was 1998. Xenogears. Also 1998. You talked about Fallout 2. 1998. So, without 1998, there is no 2007.
Okay, rebuttal, Tony.
Yeah, just real quick, Panzer Dragoon Saga, 1998 as well. And I knew that was the year you're going to pick, because I had 2 years in my head. I'm like, it's either going to be, I was going to pick 1998 or 2007. But the reason I went with 2007 is just because, and I don't disagree with anything you said, these games wouldn't exist without those, but these are the ones that are still making impacts in the gaming industry today. How many BioShock type of games haven't we seen? It's like that game just like showed like the whole world, how you could have like not only like a intricately designed like levels and stuff, but like this deep story that you don't immediately get. It kind of hits your subconscious, So you had that, and then obviously the big one. And I'm not even a fan of this franchise like that. Modern Warfare changed the whole world. Modern Warfare, that one, Call of Duty 4, I would say it was as big, or at least as big of an impact as GTA 3. Everything was a first-person shooter after that. This how crazy it went. Final Fantasy 13, one of its main inspirations was this game. Because like, okay, we got to funnel people through. This is what they want. You had that. Assassin's Creed, even though Assassin's Creed 1 is not the best one, it led the road to what we have now, which is all these massive type of games and stuff. Obviously it's supplanted by Prince of Persia. I'm not happy about that, but that's another heavy game. Uncharted, it showed the new face of Naughty Dog. There was Naughty Dog before that. They were Jack and Daxter dope games, but they were just kind of there. That game paved the way to the big one, Last of Us. It showed you that you could make these really, even though games were already going there, just these big cinematic games that you felt like you were in there. Like when you played Uncharted, the first one, dude, you were playing Indiana Jones, right? Mass Effect, we just talked about this before. This game has not been replicated yet. Many have tried, has not been replicated, man. That sense of world, when you have a game that is on the same level of, other sci-fi classics, that's pretty crazy. And obviously a bunch of other games that inspired Super Mario Galaxy. Here's the thing about Mario games, right? Super Mario 64 showed you how you could make a proper 3D platformer, and this one, like, all right, now we're really gonna go crazy right now. We make fun of Nintendo and all that, but that's like one of their pinnacle games right there. And then obviously God of War 2, that was Barlog's first game, who is the current director of God of War, who redid the whole franchise. So when I see 2007, it's just kind of spooky to me. I'm like, we're still weirdly living in this year. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right. Obviously I have my love for 1998, but like, I feel that's like, even though I love it, obviously it's like a bygone era. A lot of those games, even though there's still shades of them around, these games right here, these franchises are still here. Halo 3, that's like the Halo game. By the way, I've never played the Halo games before I started playing them all through. There's a definite difference between 3 and 4. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? What happened? But Halo 3, bro. And I know you remember this, Cicero, when that launched, that premiered, that was everywhere on TV and all that. GameStop on 34th Street, like it was crazy. So that year, like, and it's funny because I don't remember that year being that monumental until like the year after. I'm like, yo, last year was crazy, and till this day, people want another year like that, and we're still chasing it. We still haven't gotten that yet. Not on this level, because every game is like an iteration of this, basically. So even though I'm championing it, it's also kind of sad. I'm like, looking, I'm like, damn, things haven't evolved too much, because we're still getting the same franchises. Shout out to Guitar Hero, by the way. Remember when that was a thing that came out? Yeah. Legends of Rock. So yeah, that's my rebuttal. But I'm not on 1980, because that was a dope year. By the way, I didn't realize Sonic Adventure came out that year in Japan, 1990, because I'm like, yo, sister, are you tripping right now, bro? That's 1999. No, you're right. The year before that. Yeah.
It came out in Japan.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
Rebuttal.
So, I just Googled the top 10 games of all time. So there are games on that list, such as Grand Theft Auto 5 from the PS3 and Xbox 360. There is The Last of Us. There is, not in the top 10, but on this list is BioShock from 2007. But if you go to the list and you ask what the top 10 games of all time are, the first game that you see is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. The next game that you see is Metal Gear Solid. So what Tony said about the games from the year that he chose and their importance in video game history, it wasn't hyperbolic, right? It was completely true and rational, and was absolutely 100% cogent. But what he's missing is the fact that these games are the foundation to his foundation, right? Metal Gear Solid was transcendent. It literally changed the way people thought about video games. It changed the conversation about whether games were art. Because if you were a gamer and you put in the first disc for Metal Gear Solid and you started playing that first 30 minutes in, you're like, holy crap, I'm playing a movie. There are credits, there's all sorts of, atmospheric stuff that's going on. This is incredible. And it only got better from there. It is absolutely one of the greatest games that have ever been made. And it completely changed the way that people thought about games and thought about how games can be made and what is possible in games. And if that were the only game from that year, it would still make that year monumental because of how important that singular game was. But ladies and gentlemen, Legends of Zelda Ocarina of Time also changed the way that people thought about video games and what was even possible with video games. And it did it in a series where people thought they knew what the series was and what it was about and who Link was and who the princess was and all of the things. And it just took that and it subverted all of your expectations and completely changed what people thought about when it came to video games, and also answered that crazy age-old existential question that we were still trying to we were still trying to find legitimate answers for in 1998. Are games art? Can people look at this and look at the medium and take it seriously? These two games by themselves, even though there was an entire slew of franchises beginning and franchises continuing and getting better in 1998, but these two games alone answered those questions definitively and changed so much of the paradigm shift and the momentum of console gaming.
I have made my decision.
Oh, all right.
Tony, I agree with your year choice. I think it is the best year of all time, but I think Cicero argued his year just slightly better. So I'm giving it to you, Cicero. And the point that made it was the top 10 argument that you just made, that Metal Gear and Ocarina of Time are consistently in the top 10s of a lot of people's lists. So I like that argument.
Yeah. Guys, by the way, I was about to jump in with something else real quick. By the way, Cicero, everything you said about Metal Gear, you were just talking about me, bro. Like that game, man, that took me to a whole level. And remember, this was back when I was still a PlayStation hater, because I was a Sega guy, right? I went to Emilio's house, bro. He was like, yo, check out this Metal Gear. I'm looking at the intro, right? And I forget it's a game. It's a movie. And this is during the time of Resident Evil. You're expecting cheesy dialogue. They're talking like, yo, this is serious right now. But the part that messed me up, man, he leaves the hangar, he leaves the water, he's walking. The credits are still rolling while you're playing. Yep. I'm like, this is crazy. This is insane right now. When I got over my time of mourning for the Dreamcast, got a PS2, first game I bought, Metal Gear Solid, first game, PS1. I'm like, I need this game. Need to have it, man. But the one thing I was going to say, obviously you won't, but I needed to say this about Uncharted, right? Because this game started the whole trend of like, okay, instead of just having actors in a booth talking, we're going to have them in an actual studio doing their lines and stuff. And I remember when I played this first game, it was the first game, and again, I love Metal Gear, right? But every emotion, they had to tell it to you because the characters are just blocky guys or whatever, right? This game, you could be like, Nathan could be like homegirl. I forgot her name now. The blonde one. She could ask him, Nathan, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm fine. Look at his face, like he's not fine. You just a wrinkle. I'm like, oh, yo, we're getting some real acting right now. Like this is crazy, And obviously, games have expanded on that. Like you get so much out of like that game specifically, like without words. Like you could tell a whole story just by a flicker of an eye or something. Like that started that, But I can't front on Metal Gear though, bro. That game changed my life, for real, man. And the themes in that game, it was some heavy stuff back then.
Heavy. And you had a dude who read your memory card.
Yeah. Oh man, forget about Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis.
Yeah. It is wild. Yo, and you know what's funny about that, man? I was playing that game right before 9/11 happened, man.
Oh man!
And I remember how heavy it was playing the game, right? How heavy it was, because I had already seen Emilio play the whole thing, but I'm just replaying how heavy it was. Like, yo, they got nukes. This is crazy. As soon as 9/11 happened, I'm like, the game doesn't hit me right now.
It doesn't hit the same, right?
Because it's not as important. But then Metal Gear 2 came out. I was like, oh, okay, this is this is hitting too close to home right now.
Right, yeah, yeah. You start right under the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah. It is wild, bro. We could go do a whole segment on Kojima. I'm like, you need to stop predicting stuff. Metal Gear Solid 2 that game got so much flack back in the day. But he literally predicted meme culture, fake news in that game,
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's nuts. And then the whole thing with Death Stranding, I'm like, think about it. What happened in Death Stranding? What's the main story? The whole world's gone to crap, and the biggest heroes are delivery men.
The delivery guys.
I
played during the pandemic.
Yep. I didn't even think of that.
Played during the pandemic. Yep. Mine.
All right. So we have a tie for Test Your Might, which means Tony, you got to come back. You'll have to come back sometime and debate Cicero, and then
let's do it, man.
in debating this jamoke over here. This
yeah, no, it was a blast. Again, I'm just hanging out, chilling right now, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even doing a podcast right now. I'm just chilling with my boys.
All right, so on to our leaderboard section. This week, we're going to be doing top 5 indie games in honor of the 2 indie conferences. And so, reminder, Tony, you get 3 choices. You will get 1 guarantee on the top 5 list. But we'll start with Cicero so that we can kind of tell you how it is. So go ahead, Cicero.
So top 5 indie choices. I'm going to go with Inside.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with what is the one? There's a game that I love. It's a radio. I'm gonna look it up. Game of the radio on an island. Video game.
Witness.
Oxenfree.
Oxenfree. Okay.
Oxenfree.
Okay.
Is number 2, and number 3. I'm gonna go with Among Us. Why not?
Okay,
it's pretty hot right now.
I like it. All right, Tony, your top 3.
All right, and I did come prepared for this one, but I picked 5, so I got to pick only 3. All right, I planned to cheat a little bit. I wrote Limbo / Inside, but I'm not gonna pick that.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with Braid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fez, okay. Yeah.
And I'm gonna count this. This is still an indie game, even though it came out, published by Microsoft. Cuphead.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Of course,
there you go.
We'll count that. I was gonna say you gonna say Witcher 3 because that's I mean that's technically an indie
And
game
by the way,
too.
even though this came out by Ubisoft, Honor, you mentioned Valiant Hearts, man. That game was on another level, man.
Very good.
Like because I'm a hard, cold-blooded dude or whatever, but that game touched me, man. I'm like, this is real right now,
Yeah.
All right, for me, a lot of them have been actually recent plays. So I recently played through Little Nightmares, the original, and the atmosphere, the aesthetic, and just the game itself. Man, it was great. I'm going to go into the Breach. I love my strategy, like turn-based strategy. There we go. It was a turn-based strategy game, and then it adds roguelike elements as well to it, which is awesome. And I'm sorry, like, I think so highly of this, even though I'm not far into it, but I'm putting Death's Door on there.
Wow.
Because just of how much fun I'm having. There's probably better indie games, or maybe not better, arguably, but there's others that I've played that I'm sure can make this list, but it's my feelings right now. So, all right, Cicero, you get one guarantee. What is your guarantee on our list?
My one guarantee is Oxenfree.
Oxenfree. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Tony, these are in no particular order. We just have 5.
Yeah. I don't. I didn't give an update on Oxenfree. I don't know if people have played it, but it is an indie game about people on an island with a radio. They're off the coast in the Pacific Northwest, I think, and it's a bunch of like high school kids on an island that has like maybe there's some haunting or something going on. But it's a really, really fantastic game. Once you understand what's going on, it probably takes about 4 or 5 hours to complete. And then after you complete it, there's more to play. It's just a phenomenal game.
Yeah, I believe Oxenfree is on Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken.
It was at one point.
Yep, as well as there's a sequel coming out soon. So definitely look for that.
All right. I did not know this.
Tony, you have a guarantee for our top 5. Which one you got from your 3?
All right. I got to go with Cuphead, man. I love that game just because of how challenging it was. Not only that, but like the animations and see, here's the thing. That game is harder than Returnal and harder than Hades, but it's pure 100% skill based, right? So I'm able to overcome it. There's no random in that game. Everything is just like they do change up the patterns of the attacks, but the attacks you know what they kind of are. So and I also had so much fun streaming that for people, and then like people like, yo, Tony, man, you're a beast right now. It was a lot of fun, man. Even though I was getting killed a lot, you know.
When you were making your argument about Returnal and Hades, and its difficulty, Cuphead was the game that I was thinking about as the argument on the other side of it being hard but being skill based.
Exactly. Yeah. Skills, anybody can learn skills, but luck, that's a totally different animal. You don't know what you're getting. It's like you could be the most skilled person in the world, but if you get like crappy rolls, like you can't do much, I remember Returnal, bro. I'm getting like I get the little pea shooter gun. I walk out the first door of a level. There's already a mini boss. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like pea shooter. Like not to go too far back. It just reminds me of The Simpsons. Like there was this one episode of The Simpsons where for some reason everybody in Springfield was fighting somebody, right? And Mo, the bartender, got paired up with Dredrick Tatum, who was their version of Mike Tyson. He's like, what am I supposed to do? So that's how I feel when I play Returnal. I'm Mo against Dredrick Tatum.
Oh, funny. I'm gonna go with my guarantee is Little Nightmares because I've beaten it and I love that game so much. It was so good. So that's my guarantee. All right, we gotta duke it out for the last 2 slots. Cicero, do you think there's one that stands above everything else that needs to be on the list?
Fez. Yeah.
Okay. Tony, are you?
I'm not arguing with that, man. Fez, I almost picked Fez over Cuphead, man. Like, Fez is that game. It was so weird because, it was both nostalgic and new at the same time. At the
same time,
it was wild, man.
It was so brilliant, that its success pissed off its creator.
That's right, Phil Fish. Shout out to Phil Fish, man.
Right, yeah, and pushed him out of the industry. While he was creating the sequel to this game that everyone loved. Right, and that's the thing about this game. It is universally like in a place where like the internet is a dumpster fire. Nobody likes anything except for Fez.
Yeah, no,
everyone loves it.
Think about it. I'm not an indie guy. I'm like Fez all day, man. That game is on another level, man.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I can make an argument for Death's Door, but I feel like Inside is really on a lot of people's top lists. Like, do you think the last slot should go to Inside? What are we thinking?
I thought Inside was phenomenal. It is like it's on my medium list of greatest games of all time.
Okay.
And maybe on my short list, depending on how short my short list is. Just like my happy place right now is a game that, like, when I'm done, I don't even like. I'm still trying to compose myself. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. And if a game can make me feel that way in 4 or 5 hours, Inside for me.
There you go.
I played it on stream once. The first time I played through it on stream, and that was what an experience.
Tony, you got any qualms about Inside being our last one?
No, put it in there, man. But I'm just gonna expand on it, man, because I loved Limbo, right? I'm like, yo, this game's crazy. So when I heard about it, I'm like, no brainer, I got to play this. This game, it was weird because it was so unnerving, right? Yeah. Right? You know, the black and white aesthetic. You don't really know what's going on in the world because so many shadows. It's unnerving, but you want to keep going. You want to keep seeing what's going on. Then the world slowly starts unraveling. You find out, and there's no real dialogue going on. You find out everything just through the story. Right. But, and Cicero, I know you could agree with me, those last 20 minutes,
oh man,
that's what took. I'm like, okay, this just went on a whole other direction right now, right? And I'm thinking, like, okay, I guess this is the end of the game. No, you play as that. My whole like, what is going on here, bro? Right. Yeah, and then the ending. You're right. When that ending hits, you're like, whoa, and you because the game doesn't tell you what happens, you know. Right. Yeah. But I think that's to its benefit, you know. I'm like. Yeah, you just keep thinking about it over. I played this game like 3 times. Like, this game is crazy, man. And you're right. And it's just the fact that it's so short helps it too, you know. Yeah. You could do it all in one sitting if you want. So yeah, that definitely has to go in there. Right. Inside is fantastic.
All right, so our top 5 in no particular order, like usual: Oxenfree, Cuphead, Little Nightmares, Fez, and Inside. Well, listeners, that brings us to the end of the episode. Tony, as our guest, why don't you plug where you're at on the interwebs? Where can we find you before we head out?
All right, so you can find me over on Twitter. I'm at Romudeth, ROMUDETH, and in my bio, you're going to find links to all the places you can find my work. I write for Laptop Mag, PC Mag, Tom's Guide, and you can see me hosting Throwdown every Thursday and Sunday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursday is much like this show. We talk about the week's news, and Sunday we answer fan questions, and we're reaching episode 350 of each, which will be really, really dope, so stay tuned for that. And obviously, I want to thank both of you guys for having me on. This was a blast, you know, really dope show. I love this whole setup here, so much success to both of you, man.
Thank you, Tony. Really appreciate it. Cicero, we can find you Stubby Stan. Anything else you want to plug?
So if you are a fan of Steven Spielberg movies and maybe a fan of my voice and maybe the voices of other people, you can check out the Incomparable podcast. This summer is the summer of Steven Spielberg. We review all of, or many of Steven Spielberg's films, and we sat down, we watched them, and we talked about them. I just talked about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was last week's episode of The Incomparable. This week's episode of The Incomparable, we talk about Jurassic Park and The Lost World, Jurassic Park. So I am on that podcast, and earlier today I recorded a podcast about artificial intelligence. So
there you go.
Yeah, so please check that out.
Yeah, maybe you can hit me with those links. We can get them into the show notes by
right on.
Tuesday. Well, listeners, this has been Test Your Might, episode 43. We're on our way to 50. Not 350, but 50. So we'll get there. For Mike, Cicero, and Tony, we'll see you guys later. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Have a wonderful time.